Goodbye, Grinch. After taking a tough loss to Washington, Lincoln Riley fires defensive coordinator Alex Grinch.
USC heads up to Oregon to face yet another top 10 team. Can the Trojans pull off the upset?
And hoops is back. The Trojans hit the jackpot in Sin City, restoring hope to all Trojan fans. All that and more next on Sports Scene. Welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Scott Hills.
And I'm Casey Kasliner. Christmas is saved, and the Grinch is finally gone. Although USC's season has been a major letdown, Lincoln Riley has taken the first huge step in fixing USC's atrocious defense. Defensive coordinator Alex Grinch was officially fired from the team on Sunday.
It didn't get to where any of our players, any of us expected. And we all take ownership of that. Listen, that's the nature of the beast here, and I certainly am not, and our players, the rest of our staff, certainly not laying all the blame at Alex, because the reality is I have a role in that. The other defensive assistants have a role in that. Our players have a role in that. Our other staff members, everybody has a role in that.
This season, USC's defense has been bad, one of the worst in all of college football. It is ranked at 10 for the most points allowed per game and is the 11th worst in yards allowed per game with 436. While USC's offense has saved the Trojans numerous times, the defense has made little effort to help the team win games. Over the last 6 games, USC has given up a total of 265 points, an average of 44 per game. Even in games that the Trojans should have won big, like Arizona and Cal, USC had to compete at its fullest level until the end to come away with the win. So, Scott, with the Trojans' woes this season, who do you put the most blame on?
You know, defense wins championships, and it's easy to point fingers at Alex Grinch as a defensive coordinator. And yes, he is at heavy fault for some of this team's defensive weaknesses. There is talent on this defense, but it's hard to execute when your defensive coordinator doesn't put players in positions to do so. That said, accountability is a spread in team sports. You know, it has to sprinkle all the way down to careless errors by the players. Coach Riley being a stubbornly offensive-minded coach who strategizes winning simply by outscoring, a lack of deep recruiting up front. You know, there's a lot of fingers to point, but with the way the system works, there needed to be a change at the defensive helm, and that starts with letting go of Grinch.
I agree. I think it's hard in college sports to put the blame on the players when you have guys that don't necessarily have tons of chemistry, guys playing only 4 to maybe 6 years. And so, yeah, I put the blame on the coaching staff, a team that got complacent and had big expectations, very confident coming into this year, couldn't live up to that. Like you said, offensive-minded, didn't put their cards on that defensive front, had some good players on defense, Bear Alexander, Kalen Bolak, but couldn't get the execution to go, and as a result, let up so many points and lost games.
Fair enough.
With Grinch gone, let's send it to Drake and Will to talk about the future of the USC defense.
With Grinch out of the picture, the biggest question now is who will become USC's next defensive coordinator? With that in mind, Will, who do you think Riley will pick?
I'm looking at a guy, UCLA's defensive coordinator, DeAnton Lynn. He's been in that job for precisely 1 year, his first college defensive coordinator job, and he's taken the defense that allowed 29 points per game last year to one that allows 16 points per game. They lead the Pac-12 in sacks. They lead the Pac-12 in rushing defense. He's really turned it around quickly. Also knows how to operate with an offensive-minded head coach in Chip Kelly. I think he'd work well with Lincoln Riley.
Well, with USC heading to the Big Ten, I think it's important that they get someone who understands the Big Ten and their different offenses. And with that in mind, I think Phil Parker is a great pick. He's the defensive coordinator at Iowa, and he's been consistently good since he has had the job in 1999. Right now the Hawkeyes have the 13th best passing defense in the country. They allow only 13 points per game. That's 4th best in the country. And like I said, Parker has a great understanding of how the Big Ten and their different offenses work, so I think it would be a good pick for the Trojans as they head to the conference next year.
My only concern would be, as you said, he's had that job since 1999, very loyal to that city, very loyal to that team. Lynn has only been in the UCLA job less than 1 season. You wouldn't imagine there's much loyalty there coming down there from the NFL. And think about the message that sends. 4 West Coast teams are moving to the Big Ten next season. If USC is able to poach one of those West Coast defensive staff members going into the season, that's a great way to flex your muscle and say, we are the team that everyone needs to watch out for in this new conference.
That would certainly be humiliating for UCLA. Well, we'll see who Riley picks. Let's send it back to the desk.
In an offensive showdown, USC fell
job.
short to 5th-ranked Washington.
Caleb Williams jumping up and laying in the arms of family there.
Yep. Tough night. Battle.
Sure did. He knows the reality of what a third loss means.
Total yards. The USC defense simply could not stop Washington's star running back Dylan Johnson, who rushed for 256 yards and an astounding 4 touchdowns. The Heisman candidate, QB Michael Penix Jr., threw for 256 yards and 2 scores. As for USC, Caleb Williams was impressive all night long, passing for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns, in addition to 1 on the ground. With no Marshawn Lloyd, running back Austin Jones stepped up to the plate and contributed 127 yards on the ground.
Season for us. You know, we were in the moment right now to try to go beat a top 5 team here, and we were agonizingly close, maybe one holding call from getting that done. And so, you know, we're just fighting like crazy every week to play as good as we can and not get too wrapped up in all the big picture stuff right now. There's too much left to play for.
Casey, what went wrong for the Trojans and right for the Huskies? What do you make of this electric Pac-12 matchup from last week?
Well, I think in this matchup last week, you can definitely point out specific moments and blame USC for them, like that fumble near halftime by Caleb Williams that resulted in a touchdown. But really, I think the USC offense playing well in the first half and not really being able to run away with a lead because of the defense allowing a lot of points and getting complacent. I think that you have to just look at that defense once again, but also Dylan Edwards, I mean, him for Washington, he was very vital in that team. I mean, their receivers were all right, but didn't make the biggest impacts. And Michael Penix just had lots of time to throw the football. I think this matchup is one for the ages. I'm happy that Washington is moving to the Big Ten as well. But obviously, a game that the Trojans would like to have back, especially had the ability to play spoiler, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, Casey, it's hard because this was an exciting back-and-forth offensive game, like you said. Both teams were very clean on the offensive side of the ball, especially in the run game. You know, Dylan Johnson had a huge game for the Huskies. And even without Marshawn Lloyd, the Trojans got a lot of ground yards out of Austin Jones. You have to think if the Trojans stopped the Huskies one more time, maybe they could have pulled off the upset, but they didn't. So Washington seized the opportunity and kept their status among this season's elite football teams.
Absolutely.
Now, USC prepares for another incredible test. They will take a trip up to Eugene to face the Oregon Ducks. The Ducks are currently 6th in the college football playoff ranking, the highest one-loss team in NCAA. Their one loss came by 3 points to the Washington Huskies earlier this season. Oregon has looked incredible all season, led by the most experienced quarterback in NCAA history, Bo Nix, who has 56 career starts. Against teams USC struggled against, the Ducks have shown no sign of weakness. They beat Colorado 42-6 and dominated Utah and Salt Lake City 35-6. Oregon is just one of 3 teams to hold opponents to 10 points or less at least 5 times this season. In the second edition of the college football playoff rankings, the Oregon Ducks held its position at number 6. The Ducks are just one spot behind Washington, and both teams are hoping to make a case for themselves to jump into that top 4 for an opportunity to play in the college football playoffs. Casey, what now for USC as they face a very talented team in Eugene this weekend? Well,
I mean, obviously, they're playing an Oregon team, championship aspirations. Trojans have the ability to play spoiler and throw off the track for Oregon, but they're playing a team that offensively and defensively is dominant. Bucky Irving, we'll talk about some of those guys later, but this is a team that is a force to be reckoned with. I think that USC could play spoiler here, but we saw with Washington last week, a team, in my opinion, that's not as good as Oregon, but even though they beat them, still a very tough challenge, though.
Like you said, Casey, I think Oregon is a better football team than Washington, despite the rankings and their one loss to the Huskies. They're more complete on both sides of the ball with the offensive superpower of Bo Nix and the 11th best ranking scoring defense in the country. I give them the better odds of making the college football playoff than Washington. From a USC standpoint, obviously the mindset is always going to be to fight to win. I think this one's going to be a hard one for them, especially given the direction of recent momentum. The defense needs to flip the page past Alex Grinch, and honestly, it's exciting to just see what they can do really with not much on the line at this point in their season.
For sure. This season, Oregon has been one of the most balanced teams across both sides of the ball. Elite offense combined with a stellar defense has led to success for the Ducks thus far. Oregon leads the country in scoring offense with 47 points per game. The Ducks have only committed 4 turnovers this season, tied with Penn State for the fewest in the nation. 6 of Oregon's 8 wins have been by more than 29 points, and 5 have been at least by 36. The Ducks lead the nation in yards per rush and first downs per game. As for the Ducks defense, it ranks 11th in college football in points per game, allowing just 16. Oregon allows just 301 yards per game, and it has held opponents to under 100 rushing yards 6 times. Unlike USC, the defense has been vital in contributing to Oregon's success. Oregon is one of 3 teams in both the top 20 for total offense and total defense. They are also in the top 15 for scoring offense and scoring defense. The Ducks have only allowed 4 sacks, but have been picking up some of their own on defense. Oregon has dominated teams this season on both sides of the football. Let's send it over to Will to break down this Oregon team some more.
A week ago, I said USC's defense would have a long night if they couldn't contain Washington's passing attack. The Trojans held Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk to a combined 134 yards, but it was their run defense that did them in. Dylan Johnson ran for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns, averaging 10 yards per carry. So here's how it all went wrong. First play we're going to look at here is just a simple run up the gut once it comes up. You've got a big run here for Johnson. The defensive line got completely blown out of position. He's not that fast, but when they're out of position, it's going to be a touchdown. This play, both defensive ends just fly past the running back. Linebackers up the field are getting blocked, and again, just has all that room up the sideline. That's going to be big yards regardless of who the running back is. But to add insult to injury, Washington has not been a great running team, but Oregon has. The Ducks average the most rushing yards per game in the Pac-12, while the Huskies rank 8th. Let's take a look at what's made the Oregon ground game so lethal this year. So first play we're going to look at against elite Utah team, and you see even on a delayed handoff, the speed of Irving catches the linebackers flat-footed. Here you think he's bottled up, right? 2 defenders by him. Look at how he just sheds these tackles off, still stays on his feet, almost gets in to the end zone. Next play from last week against Cal. This is the backup running back. Jordan James run up the gut. Again, 3 Cal defenders seem to have him contained, but he just picks that perfect running lane. It's a big pickup, 16 yards, gets the first down for Oregon. So USC's new defensive coordinators are going to have their players in the right spots and ready to make tackles, or else Saturday will be another long night for the Trojans. Let's send it back to the desk where Casey has more on what awaits USC in Eugene.
The Ducks are stacked with future NFL names and have been using their talent to dominate other teams. We picked out some of the big ones. It's time to meet the opponent. Quarterback Bo Nix has been the biggest reason for the Ducks' success and is connected with his receiving core for 25 passing touchdowns on the season. Nix is in his second season with Oregon after transferring from Auburn, and the change of scenery has panned out quite nicely for him. Nix's best game of the year came against Cal, where he threw for 4 touchdowns and 386 yards. He's led Oregon to a dominant season this far and must continue his fine play this season in order to make a playoff push.
A key piece of Bo Nix's receiving core this season has been junior wide receiver Troy Franklin, who has averaged over 6 receptions per game with 8 total receiving touchdowns on the season. Troy caught for a season-high 154 yards at Washington earlier this season, and he's a crucial receiver in finding the long down-the-field passes, as he's caught a pass of at least 30 yards in every game this season. Watch for him to shine at home on Saturday versus the Trojans. With these 2 offensive weapons at Oregon's disposal, we can expect a high-scoring game on Saturday for the Ducks. It will surely be an exciting matchup in Eugene. Up next, USC's women's soccer is off to a great start to their postseason.
And we'll talk about USC's return to the court in Las Vegas on Monday. All that next on Sports Scene.
Ellis, deep 3.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latina voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all.
Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dime la Hora.
Radio and podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy o LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latina-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
Owl. How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
There's a new pet.
Chia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. It's fun and easy. Soak your chia, spread the seeds, keep it watered, and watch it grow. And now grow a whole collection of fun with Chia teddy bears, puppies, kittens, rams, bulls. There's even a chia tree to keep your pets company. Chia Pets and Trees, the pottery that grows.
The Chia Pet and Chia Tree are available at Kmart, Rite Aid, Ames, and Woolworth. Makes a great gift.
Both men's and women's Trojans hoops tipped off their seasons this week in Las Vegas. Gabby Patron has more on the start to the USC basketball season.
What's up, everyone? I'm Gabby Patron on this week's edition of Game Time with Gabby. This week's season openers were truly a slam dunk for both the men's and women's teams. First, looking at the men's team, it opened its season in Vegas against Kansas State on Monday. Each team got off to a slow start with USC struggling out of the gate, but the Trojans took off in the second half. Both Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier are absolutely essential for this Trojans team. Collier is able to navigate his way to the basket and read the court extremely well, making him one of the Trojans' strongest players on the team. He fouled out with 5 minutes left in the game, but the Trojans held on to the lead and went on to win 82-69. Ellis was the lead scorer of the game, scoring 24 points, shooting 50% from the field. Freshman Isaiah Collier contributed 18 points and 6 assists. He shot 7 for 9 from the field. Here's LeBron on the status of Bronny James.
Things are going in the right direction with Bronny's progress. We have a big moment at the end of this month to see how if we can continue to go forward. If he's cleared, then we'll be not too long away from him being back on the floor.
Now, looking at the women's team who played number 7 Ohio State on Monday, they truly dominated with freshman Juju Watkins stealing the show. This was the freshman's first college game ever, and she really stepped up to play. She did have 5 turnovers, but we all know she's got way better juju than that. It's expected this kind of mistake to be made, especially early in her career. The 6'2 guard has made her mark on this team and is a player to look out for this season. The Trojans beat the Buckeyes 83-74. She put up 32 points in her first college effort and also added 6 rebounds and 5 assists. Watkins shot 11 for 18, and she scored the most points by a freshman in a first game since Lisa Leslie's 30 in 1990. I'm excited to see how both the men's and women's team shape up this year, and it should be a really exciting season to watch. That's all the time I have for today. Sending it back to Scott and Casey for more.
Casey, what were your biggest takeaways from both the men's and women's basketball games this week?
Well, I mean, on the men's side, obviously Isaiah Collier, Boogie Ellis, that backcourt looks lethal. I think it's one of the best in the country. Tons of good players making their efforts. I really, really liked Kobe Johnson and his efficiency as well. I mean, you're playing Kansas State, a team that great coach, went to the Elite Eight last year. Only a few returning players this year, but I think the schedule's only going to get better for USC. Smart of them to schedule a game like Kansas State to open it up. For the women's side, you're playing an Ohio State team, another dominant team, a team that's been great on defense, very well coached. But Juju Watkins stole that show. It was such an amazing game to watch, and good to see them get that dominant victory. Of course, a little complacent there at the end, but they stole away with the win, and both teams getting that win in Vegas.
For sure. Most exciting to me was, like Gabby mentioned, just the star power of these freshmen on both sides. Juju Watkins for the women and Isaiah Collier for the men, both living up to their high expectations to start the season. This women's team, like you said, had an exciting, convincing win over a top 10 Ohio State team. Andy Enfield's team took a win over a experienced, very good Kansas State team. For the men, they have a relatively easy schedule in the coming weeks, so it'll be interesting to see when they face real tests down the road. But for now, Trojan fans can be excited. They're off to a great start to this basketball season.
Definitely.
Well, 9 Trojans have earned Pac-12 postseason awards as the soccer season wraps up. Midfielder Simi Awujo and defender Kayla Duran were named to the All-Pac-12 First Team, and Maribel Flores earned the Pac-12's Freshman of the Year award. 4 Trojans were named to the second team, 2 to the third team, and 2 first-years received all freshman honors. The Trojans finished the regular season 3rd in the Pac-12 standings and earned an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. The 9 Trojan Award winners, in addition to the rest of the squad, now focus ahead to the NCAA tournament. Earlier this week, the Trojans drew an 8 seed in the tournament. They'll host Grand Canyon on Friday at McAllister Field for the first round game.
Several Trojan athletes receive award honors this week. USC volleyball outside hitter Skylar Fields was named the AVCA Game Changer National Player of the Week award. She was also named to the Pac-12's Offensive Player of the Week, and this is Fields' third time receiving this honor, following her eclipse of 2,000 career kills in an upset win against Arizona State. For the first time this season, USC men's water polo swept the MPSF Weekly Awards. Two first-timers, Bernardo Herzer and Ajaz Grigorovic, were awarded following USC's key conference victories against number 3 Stanford. Grigorovic, the MPSF Player of the Week, tied his career high with 3 goals. Bernardo Herzer, the MPSF Newcomer of the Week, set a new career high in saves against the Cardinal in the win. Staying in the pool, Caitlin Dobler has been named October's Pac-12 Women's Swimmer of the Month. This is Dobler's first honor, and it comes following her impressive performances in the SMU Classic Invitational and USC's Trojan Invitational. It was another successful week across USC athletics. Drake, Will, who stood out to you for your Trojan of the Week picks?
Well, Casey, we've got an underrated volleyball player and a future NBA superstar this week. Both of our Trojans were chosen for their offensive performances this past week. First up, setter Mia Tuininga. Women's volleyball is on a 3-game winning streak and is ranked for the second time this season. Tuininga is a big reason why. Tuininga racked up 66 assists combined in 2 games against Arizona and number 15 Arizona State. She also had a combined 7 kills, 5 ace serves, and 15 digs against the Zona schools.
I'm rolling with a Trojan who just played his first collegiate game, point guard Isaiah Collier. The true freshman scored 18 points against Kansas State on Monday and shot a very efficient 7 of 9 from the floor. He also showed off his playmaking ability, racking up 6 assists. So, Drake, I'll ask you, why Tuininga this week?
Well, I mean, for Tuininga, the setter is the most important position on the floor. If you get good passes, you're going to get good spikes. And Tuininga's great passes are the reason why hitters like Fields or London Weejay, why they're doing so well and why the Trojan offense is just phenomenal on this 3-game winning streak. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Tuininga can do for the rest of the season.
Now look, she's a great player, no doubt about that, but there's something so impressive to me about you come in your first career college game, fresh out of high school as a true freshman, and you completely change what the USC men's basketball offense can be. His ability to attack the rim from literally any spot on the court has been something that they just haven't had, even with how good Boogie Ellis was last year. He was more of an outside shooter. His acceleration, Collier's I'm talking about, to take off from the other side of the court and beat everyone to the spot at the rim is something they haven't had, and it's going to make them really, really dangerous.
He's definitely a very powerful piece for the Trojans this season. Coming up, we'll check in on pro sports across Los Angeles. And a handful of former Trojans are shining in the NBA. Earlier this season, all of this next on Sports Scene.
Bonjour, je suis le grand musique.
Je suis la jeune fille.
Yes, that's French they're speaking. And no, these children aren't French. They're American. And they've acquired their amazing new language skills from Muzzy, the remarkable new video language program for children developed by the British Broadcasting Corporation. With this unique BBC language course, children learn a second language with incredible ease. 4 delightful videos quickly become their favorite TV show and teaches children the same way they learned English. Learning another language becomes fun. You'll be amazed when your children begin speaking and understanding their new language from the very first day through this unique method. The entire course, 4 videos, 2 audio cassettes, the activity book, and the parent's guide and answer book is available in French, Spanish, Italian, or German.
To order, use your credit card and call this number. We'll ship and charge you $28.08 a month for 6 months. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 1-800-424-0700.
Okay, this stuff is really amazing. I mean, I put it in my mouth and I taste watermelon, but it's not just that. I taste strawberry too, but it's kind of like a watermelon-y strawberry put together. Hey, hang on. Sorry about that. And the bubbles are really awesome. I mean, that's why they call it Max. I guess, obviously, that sort of makes sense once you think about it. Oh, I'm Dan, and that's Chuck.
Hubba Max, a whole new kind of bubble. Hey!
Los Angeles sports fans have had lots to watch for lately, with LA's NFL and NBA teams all busy in the midst of their respective seasons. Between the Clippers and Lakers, the NBA in LA has had a mediocre start, with fans hopeful to have more to root for as the season progresses. The Lakers are 3-4 on the season so far and are on a 2-game loss streak, their most recent loss coming in a 1-point game against the Heat on Monday. In a crosstown matchup last week, the Lakers outperformed the Clippers, winning in a 130-125 overtime matchup. The Lakers play tonight at Houston and will look to LeBron and AD to get them back on a winning streak. The Clippers have evenly split their first 6 games of their season, sitting at 3-3 so far. With James Harden now in the picture, the Clippers will hope to snap their 2-game loss streak tonight against the Brooklyn Nets in New York.
LA football has been nothing more than mediocre so far this NFL season. The Rams are currently 3-6 on the season, struggling without starting QB Matthew Stafford, who's been out with a thumb injury. Head coach Sean McVay is hopeful that Stafford will return soon, which could make the difference for the Rams in the coming weeks as they face 3 very beatable teams this week, after their bye week this weekend. The Chargers are 4-4 on the year, coming off a 2-game win streak heading into their home matchup with the Lions this weekend. That said, both wins have come against incomplete teams in the Bears and Jets, but with momentum trending in the right direction, Justin Herbert and his Chargers might be able to pull off an upset against a strong Lions team on Sunday. LA Pro Sports have a lot of exciting games ahead of them, with all these gritty, fight-until-the-end teams hoping to improve their season records. Trojans have balled out on the court for a variety of different NBA teams through 2 weeks. We've selected 2 that have made their marks in the NBA season so far. First, Cavs forward Evan Mobley is averaging a double-double and has been consistent on defense and in the paint. On a team loaded with guard talent, Mobley has been using his 6'11" size to his advantage and sharing the ball nicely. Cleveland might be 3-4, but they have their eyes on the playoffs once again. Small forward DeMar DeRozan, who's now in his 15th season, is keeping up his solid play, averaging 21 points thus far. The veteran leads the Bulls in steals and blocks per game and has had 33 points in Chicago's gritty overtime win over his former team, the Toronto Raptors. DeRozan is yet making Trojan fans proud and is a leader on the Bulls.
We'll have to keep following these NBA Trojans on their journeys throughout the season, all across the association. Well, that's all for Sports Scene today. Thank you for spending some time with us. For everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Scott Hills.
And I'm Casey Kasliner. We'll be back here soon. Fight on.